I'm Will, and I'm here making this YouTube channel for a lot of reasons. Mostly it's just going to be about my personal life, just what I get up to and everything in terms of bodybuilding, my psychology related stuff and everything like that. I am a psychology student. I just graduated psychology honors. So love bodybuilding, as you would have seen if you go into my other videos, you'll probably see a lot of bodybuilding content on there. In relation to the bodybuilding stuff, as you can see, I'm not actually that big right now. I have lost a lot of size, but I've always kept 100% natural. I believe in longevity, so I'll be posting a lot of my regimes of what I do. I think like that everyone can get pretty jacked naturally. I think that we can do that regardless of whatever else we have going on in our life. You know, I'm not just a fitness coach or whatever you want to say, whatever you call them these days on the internet. You know, there's a lot of fitness coaches out there that kind of say, do this and do that, and we can't follow them because their whole life is fitness. But for us, we have other things we do. You know, I'm not just doing bodybuilding. I'm doing bodybuilding, psychology, studying business as well. So, you know, I'm pretty busy, and I work as well. So there's a lot in the mix, and I just want to make this channel to help as many people as I can. But I'm not coming from a place of higher up or anything. I'm just coming as like a kind of like from a mate to mate perspective. I think I have a little bit of, I guess, credibility to talk about this stuff. As like I said, I have got an honors in psychology, but I've also have a lot of lived experience. A little bit about me. So, because I just want to like build some trust with you guys, and, you know, so you can get to know me a little bit. Like I said, my favorite passion is bodybuilding. I love bodybuilding because I learned it from my father. My dad was huge. He was 6'4.5". He was so jacked. He weighed 120 kilos at his, well, I wouldn't say his prime because his prime was 125, but leanness wise and looking good, 120 kilos. He had 19.5-inch arms. He was so strong. He was 100% natural. He probably would have lived to an old age, but unfortunately, like in terms of his physicality, like his physical body, because he took really good care of that. And I've learned a lot from him. He was extremely intelligent. He was in the top 5% intelligence in the world, and you know, he was extremely good looking. He was all these things. He had a lot of opportunities, and you can go and hear all about them in a previous podcast that I've done. But unfortunately, mental health got the better of him. And I say that very casually because I don't want to get into it right now, but he took his life. And, you know, this channel that I'm making right now, like I've said in my other videos, this was meant to be of both of us. Like we were supposed to do a father-son YouTube channel where he was going to like direct and do like the bodybuilding side of things, and we're going to train together. And then I was going to do more of the mental health side of things, but we never got to do it. So I'm doing this in his honor. And I'm going to teach you guys a lot of what he taught me, because he has taught me so much. You know, a lot of even like the bodybuilders that go to my gym that compete and everything, they all listen to him. And a lot of people also listen to him for his other advices in his life and everything like that. But, you know, unfortunately, he wasn't good at following his own advice. So I'm trying to like take what I learned from him, and amongst many, many, many others, renowned psychologists, successful CEOs and everything around the world, and just take those lessons and the things that I've found interesting and feed them back. You know, I like doing, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm just trying to give you a little bit of context of who I am and, you know, where I've been and what I've done. So, you know, we can, yeah, like I said, develop that trust, and, you know, that, you know, I'm not just talking out my behind. But yeah, I love reading research. I did my thesis on sleep. I love learning about how to optimize our bodies and get back into, you know, top physical health. I love wanting to enjoy life. I love all of that stuff. So everything that I learn that's interesting in all my readings and everything, I'm going to feed back to you on these videos. So the videos are going to be a little bit random. There's going to be bodybuilding. There's going to be what I'm doing. There's like vlogs. There's going to be everything. But ultimately, I hope like it just helps even someone, because, you know, when we all go through so many things in life, and that's the thing, like life is going to hit us so hard. Like we're kidding ourselves if we think we're not going to be hit by life. We are absolutely kidding ourselves. And, you know, I've said this before, but after 35, that's when a lot of the time things start to happen. So right now, while I'm in my 20s, like this is easy road, man, like compared to later. Even with, I've had it tough compared to like a lot of Western civilization. And, the suicide was just one of many, many, many things. I've had, a lot of friends, unfortunately, that have passed away. Well, when I say a lot, I mean, for my age, it's a lot. Friends that have been to prison, friends that have gone down the wrong path and, have, like, I guess, exposed themselves to substance abuse and finding it hard to get off and all of these things. And I've had family members that have done the same. And I'm just saying, like, I've seen a lot of travesty, but I've also seen a lot of the positivity. I also have family members that are successful and they're excelling in life, friends that have turned things around. And, through my degree, I've gotten to see other cases vicariously. And it's really, really like motivated me to learn about this stuff, because when I was faced with the suicide, my dad, he wasn't just a dad to me. He was also my best friend. We meal prepped together, we trained, we did everything together. At a bit of a later age, we weren't always like that. And, there was always strain as well. Like, I'm not going to just paint it out to be this perfect sunshine and rainbows relationship, but, it's a typical father-son relationship, Greek heritage. We did bicker a little bit, but it was all love. We never went to bed on an argument. We would always forgive. And we were so close. So losing him, I'm just giving, like, that is just in a very brief nutshell, but I'm just giving you some context so you can understand how close I was to him. So when I lost him, I was beside myself, to say the least. And not the first, but one of the first things I did after the funeral was, because I'd never felt like this before. Losing a grandparent is really hard if you're close to them. Losing my dad, who was my best friend, I can't tell you how hard it was. Like, I was in a relationship previously for 5 years and had a breakup. If that was a 1 out of 10 in hardness, losing my dad was a 10. And breakups are hard. So, this, and it just really shattered me. And I went on to, started to look, how do we get past this stuff? I don't want to have my life filled with misery. I don't want that. And I would look up, because I'm obviously like a psychology student, I know how to research. And so I started to research what happens when this stuff happens to us. And I didn't like what I found. A lot of people, they go down this very, very negative trajectory. And I do not want to go into it and speak about all of that stuff. I'm just saying that what I found was it was bad. But there were subpopulations of people that actually, for some reason, when they were faced with this adversity, had, the opposite impact of effect of what others have. So what I mean by that is, some people have an adversity and go downhill, whilst others have an adversity and become better off than they were before. And I was just thinking, because this was so polarizing to me, I was like, how does that happen? Like, I want to learn all about how do we get back to being good? Because, we can't come from an entitled position. I mean, you can, you're free to do what you want. But for me, I don't want to come from an entitled position thinking, going into life and thinking, oh, nothing bad is going to happen to me. Because if I do that and I just expect that nothing bad's going to happen, and then inevitably something bad happens, where's my preparation? And I'm not saying to be a pessimist. I guess I used to be much more of an optimist. I would still call myself an optimist, but leaning towards realist, but also optimist. So I'm definitely not a pessimist. And I'm not saying that you should just expect bad things to happen. What I'm saying is through all of my reading, through all of my life experiences, through all of my, thorough research onto others and what makes people happy, what makes people be able to get up and go again, I have found that we have to take things as they come. And it's as simple as that. So when we experience something bad, we're experiencing the bad, we're in there. We're doing it all. It's happening to us, but it's not permanent. It doesn't have to be permanent. We choose whether that's going to be permanent. We can't come into life and say, I don't want any of this to happen. I want all of this to happen. That's not how it works. But what we can do is when these things happen that are unexpected, we can actually train ourselves. We can train ourselves to become so resilient that they're not going to impact us and damage us as much as what they could have. And so to put it into an analogy, how I view myself is, and this has just helped with me, and this is not advice, I'm just telling you what has worked for me. And so when I've had these adversities happen, I look at myself like I'm a video game character, because I used to play a lot of video games when I was growing up. And I look at myself as I've got all of these skills that I have to build, defenses, attacks, and all of these things. And the best thing, more than my academics, more than my monetary skills, more than relationship skills, more than anything, the best thing I've ever invested, more than any stock, anything at all, has been resilience. Investing in resilience is the best asset I have ever invested in my entire life. Hands down. And that's going to look different for everyone, but when in these videos, I'm going to go into a lot about what I do and how I find and how I don't want to tell you what to do. I'm never going to tell you what to do. But what I want to help you with is I want to help you think about how to build resilience for your life and what that looks like. And I want to help you become the best version of yourself. And like I said, that's going to look different for everyone. So when I was looking back to the research I was looking at, victims, and I don't even like to use the word victim. I don't like to have a victim mentality at all. I think, just on a side note, we have to all adopt a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. If you have a fixed mindset and something bad happens to you, you're going to be thinking, oh man, this sucks. The first thing you're going to do is you're probably going to compare yourself to, everyone else around you. He hasn't had this hard. He hasn't had this hard. He hasn't had this hard. But what are you getting from that? What ROI are you getting? You're getting nothing. So with a growth mindset, it's like, yep, I've had this. The first thing, and it doesn't happen automated like this, but along the process, you'll start to think, what are the lessons? Even though it could be the worst thing, like I'm not going to say to myself like, oh, losing my dad was great. That I learned so many lessons from it. No, of course not. But I have learned lessons from it. So I have to still take what I've learned, remember it, and then apply it. And then from there, I can start to get out of this situation, start to feel better, start to get back into my normal self. And so that's what I'm saying. Like that's the difference between a fixed and a growth mindset in a nutshell. But these subpopulations of people that were victims of close family members that have committed suicide, a lot of them never recover. There's this thing called complicated grief, and it can take a toll on one's entire life because you can't rationalize the death in a nutshell. And I was looking at all of these and I looked into it and I was like, all right, so that's what they're doing. But what about these people? What are these people doing that are different? And I started to optimize for that. And truth be told, I have not 100% finished my grieving, but I am so much better. Like you could probably even hear it in my voice now. You know how many times I went to start filming these videos and I sounded too depressed? Like I couldn't do it. I have to be real with you guys. I'm all about being authentic. I'm never going to fake anything. I don't believe in faking it. When I'm sad, you're going to know I'm sad. I have bad days. I do. I still have a lot of bad days, when I'm thinking about him and everything and the weight of it and all of that. But it doesn't always have to be bad days is what I'm saying. And you can be happier. And so when I was looking at these other people, I started to do what they've done. And that is the best thing about technology that we have right now. We can literally use other people's hindsight as our foresight. So when we are experiencing something, most of the time, 99% of the time, there is some human in the world that has experienced the same thing that you have. In fact, I would go as far to say there are a lot of humans in the world that have experienced what you have experienced. And you can look at them and look at, no one's going to be the exact same as you, but people are going to have similarities. And when you look at those similarities and you say, hey, that's similar, that's similar, that's similar, I'm going to listen to them. What did they do to get out of this? And then you can apply that to yourself and you can get out of it. So you're using their hindsight for your foresight, their experience to map out and guide your way out of this. And that is the best thing about research. That is the best thing about having YouTube and all of these things. Everyone's got a podcast. Everyone's got, all these videos of what they've done to get out of certain things. Everyone's being altruistic on there and helping. Nowadays we have the power. Like I know that the phones and social media and everything, it can be very toxic and it can be very detrimental to our mental health. but it can also be extremely powerful and extremely beneficial if they're used correctly as tools. And that is why I'm saying, when we do these things and we experience these things, if we look on to Instagram and to all these other things, these other applications where people have gone through similar things and they're saying about their experience, we can learn so much and get out of things 10 times quicker than what we could have without it. Because without it, you're just by yourself and you're isolated. And isolation can be pretty bad. You know, when I was experiencing, probably within the first, I would say 3 months of, it was longer than that anyway, but it was most prominent in the first 3 months and then continued on for a year. But I've always been, I would say, an extrovert. I've always socialized a lot. But when this happened, I turned into, and I'm just starting to come out of it now, but turned into a complete introvert. And that was because of one main thing. And when I would go out to see people, I wouldn't want to talk about it. And that was to my fault, because I thought, I don't want to talk about this to anyone because they haven't experienced it. So what am I going to learn from them? That was the worst thing I could have done. That was the absolute worst thing I could have done, because what it did was it made other people say to me, Will, you're looking so much, like they'd say two things. And it's very interesting because there'd be two opposite things. But the first one was they'd say, Will, you're looking so good, man. You're looking better. You're coping well. And in my mind, I'd be like, bro, you have no idea. I'm in my head, I'm crying myself to sleep. I'm not coping. I'm just putting on a brave face because I hated having sympathy, because that would be the other thing they would say. If I didn't do that, they would give me sympathy, and I really didn't like sympathy, because they'd be like, dude, I'm just, and I know that, and they're coming from love as well. And that's why I just had to stop going out, because I was like, I knew they meant well, but I couldn't cope with it. Because when they were giving sympathy, it would be like, bro, you've been through the absolute ringer over the last 3 years. Because like I said, it wasn't just the suicide. They would say, you've been through the ringer. I don't know how you do it, man. I don't know. Like, good on you for standing up. I feel so bad. Is there anything I can do? I feel so sorry for you and all this stuff. And do you know what that did to me in my mind? I would be like, when they're saying it, and I know they're coming from love, in my mind, I'd think like, oh man. And it would make me feel weak, because I'd be like, I would start to compare myself to my mates who haven't experienced as bad. And I'm not trying to say that, I've experienced so much hardship. That is not the point. I'll explain that part in a second. But what I'm saying is it would make me feel weak, because it would give me a victim mentality of like, yeah, life has been really tough to me. This sucks. Like, this actually sucks. Like, what? This is so unfair. And when I did that, guys, my health has never been worse, because I was just always operating from a place of fear, and that causes cortisol. And so now I have this hyperthyroidism. I've always had an extremely fast metabolism, been shredded and all of that very easily my whole life. And I eat a lot of food. And I have hypothyroidism now. It makes my metabolism a lot slower and gives me no energy. I'm healing it, because I'm healing my mind, because the stress is what's caused my thyroid to do that. But that's just one of many things. So what I'm saying is, the point is, the victim mentality is the worst. And so I wish I knew that sooner. But back to the thing where I was saying about my hardships. I'm not saying that I've had it so much tougher. That is not the point I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that everything's relative and that they were coming from love. But how I got out of that was, rather than having a victim mentality, and this, like I said, this worked for me, this might not work for everyone else, but through studying psychology, I understand genetically we are 99.9 something percent the same, right? And there are humans on the other side of the world living in absolute despair. That's the only way to put it. There are bombs being dropped on people's heads. There are victims of war. There are people literally in Western civilizations that have had it a lot worse than me too. And I am an extremist. My personality is very extreme. I've always been told, growing up, I've always been very extreme with things. When I do something, I go all in on it. or I don't do it at all. And I think that's why I'm saying this worked for me. So what I started to do was I started to look at videos, documentaries, and all these other things of people in war-torn countries, people that have grown up in absolute poverty. And what I saw was, and one stuck out above the rest, which was there was this guy and he experienced like so much worse than me. And like I said, I'm not saying this is for a competition, and I'll get to that in a second, but I'm just saying this is what helped me. He experienced worse, and it was a lot worse. He grew up in a place of war. And in his country, when you call the police, they would sometimes come and also commit crimes. So he had to bear witness to his mum being sexually abused. His father was murdered, and he watched that. And this guy, 15 years later has his own family and has happiness. I'm not going to say that he's the happiest guy in the world, but he's happy. He's happier than a lot of people. When I saw that, I thought, you know what? Anything is possible. And then I hear about other stories of people around me that have had a lot of bad things happen, that have turned it around, paraplegics and all these other things that I've heard. And I just think anything's possible. People with cancer, so many different types of despair that are worse than me, the same as me, not as bad as me. But the point is they all turn it around. The people that I was looking at. And that's what I've come to realize. Like everything is like what psychology says. Everything's relative. To put it into an extreme example, someone might have a 10 out of 10 anxiety for not getting likes on an Instagram photo, but they're still experiencing the 10 out of 10 anxiety. But you can build on that and you can make it so that 10 out of 10 becomes a 2 out of 10. And you do that through resilience training, I believe. And so that's what I've done. And that's what I'm doing, because I wanted to shift my mentality away from the victimization that I was getting from people around me saying, oh, you've had it so tough, you've had it this. And I want to say, nah, I haven't. This is life. This is what happens. We don't get to choose what happens to us. We can only choose how we react to it. And that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that you cannot choose what happens to you in life. You cannot. That is completely out of your control. Completely. But what you can choose is how you react to those situations. And if you pair yourself with physical training, like some sort of physical training that you commit to at least 4 times a week, and it's somewhat hardcore, and you commit yourself to mental resilience training every day, and you commit yourself to a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset, your life will be completely different. You will be the person at the funeral that your shoulders will be the ones that people cry on. You will. Because you're not coming from a place of entitlement. You're understanding that life is transient. Things come in waves. And it will literally make your life so much better, because when you're experiencing a good wave, you're going to embrace it a lot more. And when you experience a bad wave, you're also going to know that it's not permanent and you will get out of it. Everything passes, and you will reach peace again. I'm here to tell you, for anyone else that has experienced a suicide, for anyone else that has been, anything's happened, there are ways to get around things. Seeing a psychologist is my number one recommendation above the other 3 things, and then doing those other 3 things as well. Because what a psychologist will be able to do, a good psychologist will not tell you what to do. They will help you think about your situation and then build on that for you. So you'll be able to learn how to think for yourself and do things for yourself that get you out of the situation. Because I'll give it to you this way. It's like when people want to give relationship advice to other people. They're coming from a place of their own context. So if they're asking, just say there's an argument happening with a couple and they come to one of their close friends and say, oh, what would you do in this situation? They don't know what happens behind closed doors in that relationship. You're not always going to say all the good things your partner does. When people talk, a lot of the time, they talk about the bad things that the partner has done. So they're having that skew, plus they're going to use their context with their relationship, which is completely different to yours. And that's going to form their opinion. And because you're friends and you have such a strong social connection, you trust them. And so you're going to take a lot of what they say as truth when it isn't. And really what I'm trying to say is that you are the best person at knowing what to do for yourself in every single situation, in every single vertical of your life. And that's why I think seeing a psychologist is good, because it's going to help you to understand yourself, your relationships, and how your life context is and how you function and how you go about your day. And knowing how you think is the most powerful thing. Because look at me. I've experienced a lot for my young age. And I'm not going to say that I'm doing the best, but I'm on my way up. And that's for sure. Like I said, I'm always going to keep it real with you guys, but I'm not in the dumps anymore. And it took a while, but I'm here. And I'm going to be real, and I'm going to make videos being real about what it was like in the first year, because, people always talk about, when I was looking up these videos, when I was in the absolute depths of it, a month in, I was looking up people that have experienced a suicide because I wanted to relate to someone. And all the videos happened, 5 years after, but because it's still fresh for me, it hasn't been 2 years yet. We're over a year, but within the year mark, within the 2 year mark, it's all still fresh to me, and I've written down a lot. I've journaled a lot. I'm going to share my experience, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it was like. And it was bad. It really was. I'm not going to lie. It was terrible. It was the worst. But I've gotten out of it, mostly. I'm still grieving. Obviously, I'll like I said, there's complicated grief. Will probably always be there a bit. I'm always going to miss him. It wasn't just, not that there even is there's no typical suicide, but it wasn't like the stereotyped case where it's just, he was bad his whole life. No, he was a very loving father. Like I've said heaps of other times, if I had a crystal ball coming into this life and I could see that this was going to happen, but I would still get that same father, I would have still chosen him. Yeah, he had mental health issues most of my life growing up, but despite that, he was a tank, and he still loved us, supported us, did everything for us, as did my mum. But I'm just saying he wasn't like he bashed me or, he did all these other things. Like, I knew I was loved, even though like it wasn't like it wasn't affectionate, but I knew he loved me. And he did that through acts of service, so it was different. But I'm waffling here. I'm just saying that everyone's situation is different, but sometimes it can be good to watch other people's videos to relate. And so that's why I'm going to give real accounts on things like that. Because, yeah, I know I'm not an expert on anything, but I'm just, what I can promise you guys is that I'm going to be real on everything. Even to the point of my training stuff, I have done so much research into bodybuilding and all this stuff, and a lot of what is said online, it just doesn't work for naturals. It just doesn't. And this top right now, it is actually making my arms look so skinny, but they're not. You'll see, you can go into the other videos and have a look, but it doesn't even look like I lift really in this. This is a very sleeper shirt, but you'll see in the other videos anyway. I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. I'm going to try put on size as these videos go on. But yeah, this video today was just a bit of an introduction about myself. I just wanted to, allow you guys to get to know me in a way. I've told you my biggest interests. I have a dream to be a clinical psychologist. The only reason why I haven't gone back to study clinical psychology just yet. I was fortunate enough to get a first class honors. I don't put that to myself. That was thanks to God and all the help my dad gave me throughout the years. But what I'm saying is I have the grades to go in and do a master's, but I don't feel like I'm ready yet because I haven't fully healed, and I don't want to have to have any transference in between me and my clients when I start being a clinical psychologist. So in the meantime, it's a lot easier for me just to talk about myself in a camera to you guys. And I think that's going to help me heal anyway. So in the meantime, I'm just going to be doing this. I'll be uploading regularly. I'm also into my bodybuilding, like I've said 1,000 times. I love food. I love learning about what foods are good. And I'll just say this. This is like a good key for you guys. I have done so much research into diet and nutrition. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. But I've done so much research. I have paid thousands and thousands of dollars to health professionals, doctors, naturopaths, you name it. I have paid so much money because of this hypothyroidism. I wanted to fix it. And what I have learned is from everything, there is no right diet. There's no one diet fits all. I went from eating absolute crap because when I was younger, I did a massive dirty bulk. I did, just to put it into context, for 1 to 2 years, this is what I would eat. This is how bad it was. I would wake up, I would have a probably 200 to 250 gram rump steak. And on the side of that, I would have a protein shake. It would have protein in it, peanut butter, berries, oats, banana, some nuts, all this stuff. It was thick, man. So many calories. Then my meal 2, chicken, rice. And when I say rice, a lot of rice. Broccoli. That meal was repeated. So that was my 3rd meal. My 4th meal was, from McDonald's, bacon, egg muffins, the muffins you get. I'd make them at home, but I'd have 10 to 12 eggs with those and bacon and tomato sauce. And I'd have, 4 muffins, 2 to 4 muffins and the 10 eggs on the side. Before gym, I would have a Magnum Ego, a can of Coke, a coffee, sometimes 2 Magnum Egos if I was doing a leg day, and I'd go train. After the gym, I'd have a protein shake. And then I would have mum's dinner. And my final meal would either be a can of tuna or I'd have McDonald's 4 times a week. And on the first time, it would be, a large double quarter pounder meal. Then the next time would be a large double quarter pounder meal with 3 nuggets, 6 nuggets, whatever, maybe a cheeseburger. Then I'd add another burger. And then every Friday with my dad and a mate, I would go get a massive dinner box and I'd polish the whole thing. I ate like absolute crap. I just thought I had no idea about nutrition. I thought it was calories in, calories out. It doesn't matter. No, micronutrients, they definitely matter. And then I went from there to reverting to a more just normal kind of diet. Bit of milk, bit of this, bit of meat, chicken. Was pretty shredded for a long time doing that. And then I got kidney stones, which, by the way, are the most painful thing you can go through. Like the doctor said to me, he's like, the good news is, this is the most painful thing you ever experienced because apparently it's the same level as having an amputation. The bad news is you still have another one in you. So I've had kidney stones a couple of times. That was from my extreme diet with not enough water consumption. And then, after that, I went through a period of, not eating any dairy, about 3 years of that. And I started to eat a lot of vegetables because I thought, and I listened to a lot of people that said veganism would be the cure. I didn't go full veganism, but I cut out a lot of meat. I hardly ate red meat ever. And I'd eat mostly vegan sources. So much broccoli, so much bok choy, so many greens, so much pumpkin, sweet potato. I had so many vegetables. My health was never worse. Now, I don't know if that was because of the diet. I honestly don't because, my dad happened and everything like that happened. But my markers, I've always had high testosterone. I have had really high testosterone for a male, naturally. My testosterone has never been lower from having those vegetables. As soon as I've cut them out recently, not fully, I still have some vegetables, but I've severely dropped it and I've introduced red meat into my diet and eggs, a lot of them, a lot. I don't know if I'm doing it right. I'm just using my body as an experiment to try and feel better. I've started to go up. So what I'm saying is I was listening to a lot of these people that were married to the veganism, vegetarian lifestyle, but then I've seen that carnivores say the same thing, but in a different way. So the vegans say that you need all these vegetables and all of this stuff because they have all of these, great nutrients and everything like that. And there are a lot of superfoods and vegetables and fruits. And then carnivores say that only some fruits are good. Most vegetables are bad because they have anti-nutrients and all this stuff. And then when I so in the middle of this, I went to full carnivore. Then I was constipated and I couldn't go to the toilet and all this stuff. So then I started to introduce more fruit and vegetables. Now I'm starting to, feel in the between, because these guys are saying that they're like, oh, this is the way. Then they're saying this is the way. And then you have vegetarians in the middle saying this is the way. And nobody knows, man. The research out there is literally so convoluted. It says that some people say that, there's research that I've found that has shown that vegetarians have gotten the most cancer out of their diets. Then there's other researchers that have shown carnivores have had the most cancer. And then when you look into the carnivore ones, they don't actually look and control for a lot of extraneous factors. They don't control for smoking, alcoholism. They don't control for it's so messy is what I'm saying. It's like, you got to work it out for yourself. Like, this is how I'm going about it now. And this is not medical advice. Like I said, none of this is medical advice. This is just talking about myself. But how I think, if you eat it and feel good, go for it. The food from my research that I've found that is probably detrimental for most people is gluten. Gluten is so inflammatory. If you want to age your skin and do all that stuff, eat gluten. I've waffled on for a bit. I think you guys will get to know me a lot from this podcast. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. And I look forward to seeing you in the next videos. Like I said, I literally just set this up, made this on a whim. I don't even know why I have my laptop open. There's not any notes here for full transparency. It's just my streaming stuff. Yeah, the last thing I'll say is that I do take a balanced approach to life. I'm not full only fitness. Like, there's no socializing, there's nothing, there's no good times, there's no cheat meals. Nope. I enjoy myself. I think everyone should. I think that you can have a fit physique and be able to enjoy food. And by enjoy food, I don't mean, eating healthily. I do eat healthily most of the time, but on the weekends you can have, a bit of this and a bit of that. You've got to enjoy yourself. You've got to enjoy life, enjoy festivities, enjoy being with people, celebrate celebrations. Yeah, balanced. Study a lot, read a lot, work a lot, but you can fit it all in. I have a very loving partner. I love spending time with her. It's probably one of my favorite things, if not my favorite thing to do. Love seeing my friends, love spending time with my family. It's just all about balance. But that's what works for me. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you. But my goal with this, like I said, is to help you work out what's best for you and then go and do that. So you can, no matter what happens, how good would it be? Just imagine this, how good would it be that when travesty hits your way, you're prepared physically, you're prepared mentally, and you're prepared financially. So when someone's coming to you with something and it's going to hit you, you're ready to hit it back head on. And I'm not saying that you're not going to ever be impacted or affected by it. No, that's completely unrealistic. But what I'm saying is that to put it into the video game scenario, if this event was coming at you and it was going to do, just using numbers, it was going to do on a scale of 0 to 100. Say if an event was coming at you and it would used to damage you by 50%. Now, because you've got all this resilience and you've built up, it might only damage you 20%, 10%. And your time to recover, what it used to be might have been 3 years. But because you have a growth mindset, you recover in several months, several weeks, several days even. What I'm saying is that's how you can train yourself. You can train yourself to be unbreakable. When I say unbreakable, by the way, because I always keep things real, like I said, I don't mean actually unbreakable. The suicide, it broke me, but it didn't permanently break me. So that's why I use the word unbreakable, because you build yourself back up. So that's how I see life, and that's what's helped me a lot. And that's what I hope to help you guys with. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I want to, really thank you for your time. If you've stuck the whole way through, I really appreciate it. I hope that you've gotten a little bit out of it, a little bit of a gist, taken some keys. My goal for this channel is to create a community. I want to create a community of us that, so if you're going through stuff, that we're all going through it together. My inboxes are always open. If you want to ask me something specifically or you want me to cover it in depth in a video, drop a comment. If you want to hear my opinion on something, I'd be more than happy to delve into it, put a bit of scientific research into there, just my own opinion, whatever you like. Like I said, I want to build this community. If you like this video, just drop a like and a subscribe. I guess you'll see me in the next video. And just thanks so much for listening, guys. And I'm so excited to be doing this. So even if it helps one person out there, would mean the world to me, because I don't want anyone to have to experience, if possible, that's watching this, the depths of negativity of what I went through with my experiences. That's my goal. And if you do experience those depths, I want you to be able to come out of it as quick as you can, truthfully. But yeah, thanks guys. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.